Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we present world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I am the President, Founder, and Chief Listening Officer here at USA Global TV and Radio. We are thrilled to welcome our new followers, our new viewers on E360 TV. We are very grateful for our partnership that we have with them. And this program is being brought to you by our sponsors. We'll hear from them at the very end. So today's topic on Talking Heads is empathetic listening, or understanding the perspective of someone else. Many times when we're listening, we're really just hearing and thinking about what it is that we plan on saying as soon as the other person is finished speaking. I want you to think about that. How many times have you been in a conversation with someone? And I'm even going to put conversation in air quotes, because many times it could be a monologue where the other person is going on and on. Maybe you're the one going on. And all you want to do is get your point across, depending on which perspective it is. But yet we're not really listening to what the other person is saying. We're not putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. Why is this so important? It's important because here at this platform, and for me personally and professionally, I truly believe that if we were able to listen at an elevated level, there would be more peace on earth. There'd be more peace in our hearts, there'd be more peace in our minds, and there'd be more peace in this world. Instead, there's so much discord and strife because everybody is thinking about their perspective. I want to be heard. I want to be right. Not everyone. There are definitely people out there who have transcended, who have gone from a 3D world to 4D, 5D, etc., and people who are listening at an elevated level. So my goal, my takeaway for you in this 26.5-minute episode today is to have a better understanding of what empathetic listening is, and to give you some tips on how you can put this into your life as a mantra, as a doctrine, as something that you can follow on a regular basis. A lot of what I'm going to be discussing today can be found in my new book, Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening: Solutions for Deeper Connections, Better Relationships, and More Authentic Conversations. This book became an Amazon #1 new release and bestseller when it was in the pre-order stages. And inside this book, there are 2 quizzes. The first is a pre-assessment. What are your listening skills like today? Are you a novice? Are you intermediate? Are you advanced? And then by the end of the book, there's another quiz that you can take so that you can see how much you comprehended from this book. This book also includes testimonials and case studies. You can get it over on Amazon. So you're having a conversation with someone and you're sharing something that's really important to you, and the other person really doesn't even acknowledge it. And I'm going to give you an example of this because this has happened to me very recently. My dear mother was my best friend. She passed away August 24th. We spent a lot of time together. And of course, we have one mother typically, and we lose that person, and it's a new experience. It might be different than losing a father or a sibling or a friend. For me, it is a very different experience. And what I find typically is the following. As soon as someone asks me how I'm doing, I take a few seconds to compose myself, to feel like Is this person really interested in what I have to say? Or do they feel they need to say something because they're interacting with me, they're on my team, whatever the point might be. So as soon as I start saying how I feel, this is what I'll hear. Oh, I know. I completely get it. I went through the same thing when my mother passed away, when my so and so passed away. And I think that's really important. But what does it have to do with what I'm saying? It's almost like they don't want me to say what I have to say because they don't know what to say. So they want to have some type of understanding that we're going through similar experiences. And a lot of that, while it could be heart centric, is also coming from a very different place. It's coming from a place of insecurity. It's coming from a place of really having not having the confidence to be able to just sit in the silence and listen to what it is I have to say. So that's what we're talking about today, empathetic listening, listening to understand the other person's perspective. What do we typically try to do when someone is sharing their perspective? So I'm sharing how I feel about my mother's passing, and someone wants to tell me what it was like for them. People will also say, well, have you tried doing this? Did you speak to that? How long has it been? Shouldn't you already be? And that's called providing a solution when a solution hasn't been requested. So think about how you could listen at a different level. When we listen empathetically, when we listen at an elevated level, it's truly a gift that we're giving to someone else. Because if you take 10 people, out of those 10 people, at least nine, if not 10, are going to be over talking, interrupting, judging, problem solving, or stage hogging. It's just the way that the world is. When you meet someone who is actually listening at an empathetic level or with compassion or at an elevated level, that person stands out. And I bet if you were to think about it now, someone in your life who really is a good listener, you would probably be able to identify certain traits that that person has. They don't feel that they have to take over the conversation. When we feel we have to take over the conversation, and again, I'm using an extreme example, but it's a real example, losing my mother. So I'm sharing how I feel because you asked me. And instead of you giving me the space to say what it is I feel, you start butting in or you start throwing in random comments about yourself. And that's not helping me. Why are you doing this? You're doing it because you probably don't know what to say, or you want to fix me, or you want me to feel better, or you want me to move on, or you don't want to have this conversation. There's a lot of different reasons why we do it. And it doesn't have to be something as extreme as a death, it can be anything that you can possibly think of. In most cases, we'll find that we're very different from people as opposed to being similar. And that can be very interesting because you have one perspective and I have another perspective. But many times we feel that the only perspective that matters is our perspective. So we're not actually listening anymore to what the other person has to say because we don't agree with them, because what we're saying feels uncomfortable. There's plenty of reasons. So let's talk a little bit about what we can do to listen empathetically and to try and put in some new behaviors to implement new strategies, new solutions so that you have better relationships. If you think about it, we want to feel important. We want to feel loved. We want to feel safe. And that's what elevated listening, the goal of elevated listening truly is. So we're going to go back to just a couple of basics because I feel this is really important. It just happened again the other day. Somebody called me. They didn't ask if this was a good time. They just started rambling on about whatever it was. And I thought to myself, that's interesting because this person has actually taken my course and I wanted to say something, but I didn't say it then because that wasn't the appropriate time because the person really wasn't in the capacity to listen. So the first thing we want to do in order to be better listeners, to be empathetic listeners, is to ask for permission to share. When you ask for permission, you are basically saying, I respect you and I respect your time. is this a good opportunity for me to share something with you? So again, I'm going to go with the extreme, but it's actually a true life situation. So if I just started calling people up out of nowhere and started talking about my mother dying, what it means to me, what I went through, what it feels like, I'm not going to get a lot of people who are very happy to hear from me because they're not mentally prepared. They're not emotionally prepared for that level of conversation. And again, that's an extreme. But on the other end, when we have something happen to us that we feel is really important, that doesn't mean that the other person feels it's important. So let's say, and this is an example I use because we have a role play on this, you got engaged. Okay, that's a big event in a person's life. You got divorced, you lost your job, you got a job, you met someone, you have a health issue, you just recovered from a health issue. All these things are very important to the person to whom they're happening. That doesn't mean that they're important at that moment to anyone else. So when you're filled with joy, or you're filled with dread, or you're filled with anxiety, and you decide to share this with someone else, if you don't ask for permission, then you're going to be disappointed most times. And the reason is either the person will listen to what you have to say, but they're not truly present. They're basically doing you a favor in their mind by listening to what you have to say because they're preoccupied, they're doing something else. So when you ask for permission, Joe, I have something I want to share with you. I'm super excited about it. I hope you'll be happy for me. Do you have 10 or 15 minutes right now? Actually, I don't. I'm in the middle of a project, but what you have to say sounds really exciting, and I'd love to hear more about it. How about tonight, maybe around 8 or 9 o'clock? Would that work for you? No, I want to tell you right now. It's not going to take that long, really. I want to tell you something. I want to tell you right now. I'm really sorry. Again, well, you know what? In the time that you're saying you're sorry, I could have already told you. I understand what you're saying, but I'm in the middle of this project and mentally, I'm just not here on the same page with you. Please allow me the respect to give you my undivided attention. If tonight won't work, how about over the weekend? So, what happens in that scenario? The first is that you, the person who's being asked the question, do you have 10 or 15 minutes right now? You're basically giving them a gift. And the gift is you're saying, I want to hear what it is, but I am not capable of doing so at this moment because I'm in the middle of a project. I don't feel well. I am on my way out the door, whatever the situation is. But the other person who's asking for permission, they feel that they're doing the right thing by asking you, is this a good time? But then when you come back and say, no, it's actually not, now they feel deflated. So, what most likely will they do? Probably give you an argument or give you a hard time, or they're going to call someone else and go through the whole thing. So, what I like to think about when it comes to empathetic listening is first of all, how can we control our own emotions? How can we take the information of what just happened and sit with it? I'll give you another example. Again, my mother's passing away. I'm going to talk about something a little bit happier. So I published 3 books last week, I guess it was on the 21st, not that long ago. 3 books. My book coach and myself, we worked on it. We published them. We got them out there. So I was so excited about this. How often do you publish 3 books? And it was right after my mother passed away. So I had been working on the books and then I finished them. She passed away and then I made some adjustments to them. So who could I celebrate with? Who would be as excited as I was about my new books? My mother, but she's not here. So what did I do? Did I have a pity party? Did I start dialing for dollars, calling people saying, hey, guess what? I published 3 books. No, I sat with the 3 books in front of me and I thought about the effort that it took. I thought about how grateful I felt and I just enjoyed it myself. Does that mean I'll never speak to anyone about it? No, but I guarantee you, no one's going to be as excited about those books as I am. So that is a learning for me. And I hope that you can take something away from it, which is when something amazing happens, when something terrible happens, you can sit and process it yourself. You don't need acknowledgement from another person. Now, if you're experiencing anxiety, depression, any of these lower vibrations, get some help. Go and talk to someone. Absolutely. But to have people on speed dial that you're calling on a regular basis to give your story, your version of story over and over and not asking for permission, it's not going to facilitate a healthy relationship. And it might even get to the point where someone sees that you're calling and they just decide not to answer. So let's start with processing the information ourselves. If it's something that is affecting our health, our mental health, absolutely reach out to a professional, speak to somebody. Speak to somebody in your world and say, I'm really struggling with this, and I'm thinking of calling a physician or I'm calling a therapist. That is something that you should definitely consider. But when it's something day to day that's not an emergency, let's take the emotion, take a step back. I physically like to take a step back and sit with my emotions. So, two emotions, I should say, maybe two situations with many emotions. One, my mother passing away. Obviously, a lot of emotions involved there. Two, on the other end, publishing 3 books. So, I have been processing those completely divergent feelings myself. I've been working through them myself. I don't need to reach out and call 10, 15, 20 people so they can tell me that the way I'm feeling is good. It's bad. It's the way it should be. I should be over it. I should be celebrating the book. I don't need any of that. I have what I need right in here. And so do you. And that's what I want you to take away from it. When you feel that way, when you know in your heart that you are able to handle things on your own, you will be able to listen at a completely different level. Why is that? Because your mind is clear. When someone comes to me, if they've asked for permission and I've been able to set a boundary, which is, thank you, Susan, for asking if I have time. I do have time right now. I have 10 minutes. Would 10 minutes be enough for you to tell me what you have to tell me? Yes. Now, if Susan goes over 10 minutes, I'm not going to be looking at my watch repeatedly, but I don't know. I'm a pretty good judge of time because I do all of these television shows. I know how long a minute is. If Susan starts to go over 10 minutes, she's at 12, she's at 13, she's at 14, she's at 15. I'm going to know that Susan doesn't know how to set boundaries. And the next time Susan comes to me with something that she wants to share, I'm probably going to say, unfortunately, this is not a good time for me to be able to hear whatever it is you want to hear. And I'm going to be able to say it without feeling that sense of guilt. You know how you feel horrible when somebody comes to you and you say, I really can't do it right now. And then you feel so bad. No, I don't have any of that because I'm doing the work. And that's what I'm asking for you to consider. And again, why? Why are we asking you to do this work? Why am I asking you to do this work? So you have better relationships with people. So you're actually really connected with someone. When you're having a conversation, it's a true and authentic conversation. It's not, hey, what's the weather like? Or what'd you eat for dinner last night? Excuse me. These things are common things that people talk about, but is that really a connection? Is that a real deep conversation? So to have a deep conversation, to be a good listener, you have to be able to clear your mind, eliminate judgment, and be completely and totally present for what the other person has to share. And that also means when the person's sharing, you don't get the opportunity to judge. You're thinking to yourself, well, I told you I had to give you 15 minutes, and now you're talking about this subject, and I cannot stand talking about this subject. That shows that you're closed off. You're closed off, and there's no judgment about that. It's just that your ability to listen empathetically is probably curtailed or limited. So the first step is you're going to be asking for permission, setting boundaries, and really adhering to them. The second, which goes simultaneously with the first, is that you're going to be able to control your own emotions. And if your emotions get out of hand and you need help, you're going to seek help. If you're having a mental health issue, you're going to seek out professionals. If you're having physical challenges, you'll seek out other alternatives and you'll get help. If you're able to process it yourself, you'll be able to deal with the emotions that come up from a horrible situation, a painful situation, like I shared my mother's loss, or a happy situation, publishing 3 books. Those situations are so diverse, and I am processing them on my own. I am not sitting at a phone randomly calling people to tell them my boohoo story or to tell them my great story about the publications. I am sitting and processing myself. So when someone comes to me and shares with me about a loss that they've had or success that they've had, I don't feel that desire to take what happened to me and compare it to what happened to them. I'm able to completely be present and be that elevated listener for that person. And we shared this before. Can you be listening at an elevated level 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Absolutely not, because you have things to do, because listening at an elevated level is exhausting. It takes your full concentration and undivided attention. Now, there are more tips that I have for you, which are included in this book. And the reason I put this book together is because I truly want us to have peace on earth. I truly want people to have peace in their hearts. So, this is a tool. It's a tool for you to pick up and refer to on a regular basis when it comes to learning how to listen. What are some other things that you can do? Some other things that you can do include listening with an open heart, being available for someone when they're in need. And they might not even know that they need someone to talk to. It could be a complete stranger. You have no idea. People are always looking at us. People are watching us. Right now, someone is out there judging me. Maybe they don't like the way I look, or they don't like the way I sound, or they don't like my hair. They're judging because that's what people do. Our goal is to eliminate that judgment, that judging, and to come from an open hearted place of love for mankind, for humankind, for all living creatures, and to be that person who is available to listen without making any type of judgment. Sometimes we just need to let something off our chest. Have you ever felt like that? You just need somebody to talk to, but really, you just need someone to listen. They don't even have to say anything. That's why people, many times when they live alone, they've got the television on. They're talking to the television, they're talking to their plants. They're just getting something off their chest. And when we get it off our chest, typically we feel better. So if someone comes to you and they want you to be that sounding board, again, set your boundaries. You know what, John? I would love to be here for you. I'm just looking at my watch. I do know I've got an appointment coming up in a couple of 20 minutes, actually. I'll give you 10 minutes right now of my undivided attention. How would that be? Blah, 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 blah. So they start going on and on and on. And what do? You're starting to get nervous because you said you had 20 minutes. So what do? You pick up your phone. Maybe I'll text this person, let them know I'm running late. No, you're no longer available. You have a contract with this person. You said you had 20 minutes. It's up to you to make sure that this person doesn't go over 20 minutes. So, how are you going to do this? Okay, it's 15 minutes. You're starting to get nervous. Okay, what am I going to say to interrupt her? Because I feel bad. She's right at this pivotal point of the story and I've got to go. And if I'm late and then I'm going to get there and how I'm going to make this excuse, you're not listening. You just totally checked out. You totally checked out. So you said 20 minutes that you would listen, but now you're 12, you're 13 minutes into it and you're no longer listening. You're not present. That's not fair. That's a commitment that you made to give the 20 minutes. When I say that's not fair, it's not a judgment, it's a contract. I have 20 minutes, I'll give you 20 minutes. So what do you do then? Maybe you realize that you know this person and you know that their 20 minutes is not going to be a real 20 minutes. You know, it's probably a 30 minutes. So maybe you say, this is not a good time for me to be here for you. I can tell, I see that you're upset. I know that you want to get something off your chest and I want to be there for you. I will be here for you, but I cannot do it right now. I'm so sorry. That is a gift. Why is it a gift? Because you're saying, you know what? I do value you. You are important to me, but I can't possibly be fully present and listening when I know I've got to get in the car and drive. I've got to go to a meeting. I'm mentally preparing for the meeting. And if I give you this time, I'm not going to do a service over there, and I'm not going to do you any service. So if you, the speaker, are in control of your emotions and you ask for that opportunity, and the person comes back and says, I do want to hear what you have to say, but I can't do it right now. I can do it tomorrow at 2 or Sunday at 3 or whatever the case is. You, as the speaker, as the presenter, are okay because you have control of your emotions. You realize that whether you share this information with this person right now or tomorrow or Sunday, your life overall in the big picture is not going to be impacted. We take the emotion out of it. We use our logical brain and we say to ourselves, I do want to tell him what happened to me. And I want him to not have anything else on his mind so that he can be completely here for me. That is a gift. It is something that we all strive for, whether we realize it or not. We all want to feel heard. We all want to feel safe. We all want to feel loved. That's all I have for you today on my episode of Talking Heads. And again, please do consider going over to Amazon to pick up this book, Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. Why? Because there's solutions in here for you to have better relationships, deeper conversations, and more authentic relationships. And isn't that what we want instead of superficial, surface level conversations and relationships? Thank you again to everybody at USA Global TV and Radio. And thank you so much to our new followers, our new viewers on E360 TV. This is Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck signing off for now. Coming up next, Dr. Madeline Chan and her Talking Heads. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.